Yes, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the special sitting to commemorate the opening of the new legal year of 2025. By way of establishing protocol, I wish to acknowledge His Excellency, the Governor, the Honorable Premier, the President of the Senate, the Speaker of the House of Assembly, the Deputy Governor, the Honorable Attorney General, the U.S. Counsel, the Shadow Attorney General, the Solicitor General, the Director of Public Prosecutions, the President of the Bar Association, Mr. Jerome Wilson, the Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner of Police, Mr. Kevin Grant, the General Secretary of the BPSU, and other distinguished guests and members of our wider legal family. It's a pleasure to see everyone today. And we're going to start our proceedings when I'm going to call upon the Senior Magistrate.
Thank you. Today, as we stand united at the opening of this new legal year, let us reflect on the words of U.S. Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis. The greatest menace to freedom is an inert people. These words remind us that the strength of our judiciary, the fairness of our courts, and the impartiality of our judges are all essential to safeguarding the freedoms we hold dear. In a world where democracy and judicial independence face growing challenges, it is our duty to remain vigilant and resolute in upholding the principles of justice. This occasion not only allows us to honor the achievements of our past year, our successes in delivering timely, fair, and impartial justice, but also challenges us to confront the work that lies ahead. The past year has brought its share of difficulties, yet it also has been a testament to the resilience of our legal community. As we set our sights on the future, let us commit ourselves to the principles of fairness, equity, and accountability that define our system. Much is to be done, but together we can rise to meet the demands of this new year with purpose and conviction. Firstly, I must offer my profound gratitude. The Magistrates Court is not sustained by titles or positions alone, but by the collective effort of a dedicated team. Magistrates, clerks, administrators, special panel members, police officers, bailiffs, social workers, security guards, cleaners. These are the unsung architects of our success. Each of you, through your diligence and commitment, ensures that the wheels of justice turn smoothly and efficiently. You are more than just components of a system. You are the lifeblood of this institution. For that, we owe not just thanks, but the highest respect and recognition for your indispensable contributions. I need to convey a special thank you to Mr. Roddy Burchell, who has retired from the Family Court panel after 48 years of service. His kindness, insight, fortitude, and wise counsel will be profoundly missed in the family courts. If I could just ask Mr. Burchell to stand quickly, please. Every day in the Magistrates Court, magistrates carry out their judicial duties with unwavering commitment, without fear or favor, without ill will or bias. They do so with a profound understanding that justice is not just punitive, but restorative, and that everyone who comes before the court is deserving of dignity and, where possible, a path to redemption. Beyond the headlines, sound bites, and the noise of electronic, print, and social media, magistrates confront the social challenges of our time head on. They approach their duties with a clear purpose to uphold justice while addressing the root causes of conflict and hardship in our community. They do this by encouraging resolution of a conflict, managing debt with dignity, supporting parents and children, guiding youth, combating addiction, alternatives to incarceration, humanizing mental health, and addressing impaired driving responsibly. As a community, we are entitled to our own opinions, but not to our own facts. I challenge every member of our society, come and witness the work of the Magistrates Court firsthand. Step inside on any given day and observe the extraordinary dedication of our magistrates and administrative staff. Do not rely on anonymous posts, hearsay, or innuendo. See for yourselves the tireless efforts being made to ensure justice is served with fairness, compassion, and humanity. A call for stronger penalties. The Traffic Offenses Penalties Act 1976 must be amended to address the growing concerns surrounding the culture of driving on our roads, particularly offenses related to speeding and driving while impaired. The criticism often directed at the courts for perceived leniency overlooks a critical fact. The powers of magistrates are strictly defined by statute. If we want penalties to match the severity of these offenses and the societal frustration they generate, the law itself must be amended to empower magistrates to impose more fitting sanctions. Currently, the maximum fine for any speeding offense is capped at $500, regardless of how egregious the speed. This is simply inadequate in reflecting the seriousness of the threat posed to public safety. Likewise, the penalties for driving whilst impaired, while substantial, have critical gaps. For example, a first offense is $1,500 fine with 18 months disqualification. Second offense, within 2 years, $2,500 fine and 3 years disqualification. Third, a subsequent offense, within 2 years, $5,000 fine and 5 years disqualification. However, if a person commits another DUI offense beyond the 2-year period, the magistrate cannot consider previous offenses when determining the penalty for the new DUI charge. This limitation undermines the severity of repeat offending and fails to adequately address the pattern of dangerous driving, of dangerous behavior. To reflect the gravity of speeding and driving whilst impaired, we must advocate for, 1, increased fines for speeding offenses that are proportionate to the level of excess speed. 2, higher penalties for driving whilst impaired, ensuring they serve as a true deterrent. 3, the removal of the 2-year limitation on prior offenses, allowing magistrates to consider an offender's full history of violations when imposing penalties. Strong representation must be made in the legislature and with policymakers to enact these changes. Without the necessary amendments, the courts remain constrained, unable to deliver judgments that align with the public's expectation of justice and the need to curb dangerous behaviors on our roads. This is not merely a matter of legal reform, it is a matter of public safety and societal responsibility. By reassessing and strengthening these penalties, we can take a decisive step towards creating safer roads and reducing the devastating consequences of reckless and impaired driving. The challenges of space in the magistrate's court. The Sessions House, built in 1819, stands as one of Bermuda's most iconic and historic landmarks, embodying our nation's judicial and legislative legacy. However, as with all historic structures, the passage of time necessitates restoration to preserve its integrity and functionality. I am reliably informed that due to the extensive renovations required, it is highly likely that the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal, and ancillary judicial offices will not return to Sessions House even after the renovations are completed. Additionally, with the closure of the Front Street Registry offices, several judicial offices and Supreme Court divisions are now housed here in the Dame Lois Brown Evans building. While I fully understand and support the relocation of courts to the Dame Lois Brown Evans building, ensuring the judiciary has functional spaces to carry out its critical work, the current arrangement presents significant challenges for the magistrate's court. The reduced availability of courtrooms and resources had placed additional strain on our space capacity. Courts that once accommodated magistrates' court matters are now being used for Supreme Court matters. This reduction in available space for the magistrate's court raises a pressing concern. Insufficient courtroom availability could lead to increased backlogs of trials, forcing adjournments that disrupt the timely administration of justice. It is essential that we maintain the efficient operation of the magistrate's court, as delays in hearing matters can undermine public confidence in the judicial system and negatively impact the lives of those seeking resolution. As we navigate these logistical challenges, I urge all stakeholders to prioritize the allocation of adequate resources and space to ensure that the Magistrates Court can continue to perform its vital role in the justice system without unnecessary delays or impediments. The administration of justice depends on our ability to adapt, address these challenges head-on, and uphold the principles and fairness and efficiency that defines our courts. The therapeutic courts. Those present today are aware that the Criminal Code Amendment Act 2001, the Alternatives to Incarceration legislation, allowed the Magistrates Court to put non-traditional treatment courts in place to help those who commit offenses while in the grips of alcohol or drug addiction or mental health challenges. And these were through, of course, the Drug Treatment Court, but also through the Mental Health Treatment Court and the Driving Under the Influence Court, both started by former Senior Magistrate Justice Wolf. The Probation Review Court is also operational and running well. This court routinely reviews probation orders to encourage compliance by persons who have been placed on probation. Such regular scheduled reviews enable persons to get back on track and assist them in addressing the criminogenic and mental health needs, secure employment and housing, and most importantly, to be productive members to their community and to their families. The Juvenile Treatment Court pilot is designed to address the needs of young offenders identified as having problems with drugs or alcohol and or suffering from a mental health diagnosis. It is to provide intervention, structure, and treatment in the lives of young offenders through regular monitoring, family engagement, and by providing skills to assist them in leading productive, substance-free, and crime-free lives. The establishment of a juvenile treatment court is a critical initiative for our community, aiming to address the unique needs of young individuals involved in the justice system. While the necessity of such a court is evident, we have encountered challenges in securing comprehensive engagement and commitment from all stakeholders, resulting in the court's current non-operational status. It is imperative that we revisit the establishment of the Juvenile Treatment Court pilot with the objection of making it a reality in 2025. This court will provide an evidence-based, treatment-oriented approach that emphasizes family engagement and addresses substance use and co-occurring mental health disorders amongst our youth. Implementing such a court would not only offer an alternative to traditional punitive measures, but also align with best practices observed in other jurisdictions. By prioritizing the establishment of the Juvenile Treatment Court, we can provide a rehabilitative pathway for young offenders, thereby fostering their reintegration into society and reducing recidivism. This initiative would reflect our commitment to justice and the well-being of our youth, ensuring that they receive the support and guidance necessary to lead productive lives. In August 2024, I received a call from the Director of Public Prosecutions, Ms. Cindy Clark, who, along with Her Excellency the Governor, Rena Lauji, had arranged for a delegation to visit a domestic violence court in the United Kingdom. This initiative has proven to be the catalyst we need to breathe life into the establishment of a domestic violence court in Bermuda. I extend my deepest gratitude to Ms. Clark for her unwavering dedication, foresight, and commitment to addressing domestic violence through innovative judicial mechanisms. Domestic violence remains a pervasive issue within our community, necessitating a response that is both compassionate and effective. The establishment of a domestic violence court represents a significant advancement in our judicial approach, allowing us to address the underlying issues therapeutically and provide comprehensive support to victims. It is anticipated that the Domestic Violence Court will commence operations in early 2025, marking a pivotal step forward in our collective efforts to combat domestic violence and hold the principles of justice and equality within our society. The statistics and anecdotal evidence show that the treatment courts are making a hugely positive impact in our community. It is gratifying to hear the stories of those who journey through the treatment courts and are now living their lives alcohol and drug-free, and with the tools to address their mental health challenges. Most importantly, they have been able to break the chain of incarceration. Furthermore, the statistics show that levels of incarceration have decreased, and this can be partly attributed to the efforts of the Magistrates Court and its stakeholders in meting out non-custodial sentences where deemed appropriate. I am informed that there are over 600 lawyers called to the Bermuda Bar, with fewer than 30 specializing as litigators, those who actively represent clients in court proceedings. While the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, the Legal Aid Department, and the legal aid teams within our courts provide invaluable services, there are instances within the Magistrates Court where the demand for legal representation exceeds the availability of qualified attorneys. It is imperative that a structured system be established wherein local law firms allocate a specific portion of their resources to pro bono work within the Bermuda courts. The principle that to whom much is given, much is required underscores the ethical obligation of the legal profession to contribute to the equitable administration of justice. By institutionalized pro bono commitments, we can ensure that all individuals, regardless of their financial means, have access to competent legal representation. This initiative will not only enhance the integrity of our legal system, but also reinforce the foundational values of fairness and equality before the law. In conclusion, as we stand on the threshold of a new judicial year, it is imperative that we, as stewards of justice, reaffirm our unwavering commitment to the principles that uphold the integrity of our legal system. We must ensure the expeditious administration of justice, safeguarding the independence of our judiciary and providing equitable access to legal representation for all, irrespective of their financial means. Our treatment courts must continue rehabilitative pathways for those in need, while our punitive measures must be just and proportionate. We must advocate for a remuneration system that reflects the true cost of living in Bermuda, ensuring that our publicly appointed legal professionals are adequately supported. Furthermore, it is essential that our local law firms dedicate a portion of their resources to pro bono work, thereby contributing to the broader societal good. As we approach the general election on February 18th, it is crucial that our political leaders prioritize the needs of the judiciary in their forthcoming budgets, ensuring that programs we have in place are adequately funded to make a meaningful impact. In the words of the Right Honorable Lord Thomas at the Commonwealth Magistrates and Judges Association Conference in September 2015, the centrality of justice to our societies and the independence of the judiciary cannot be taken for granted. To all of us, the centrality of justice to a state is obvious, but that is a view we should not take for granted. The necessity for judicial independence is obvious to us all. We know it is central to the rule of law. In each of our nations, to a greater or lesser extent, we have to protect it or to fight for it. As we move forward, let us heed these words and remain steadfast in our dedication to justice, ensuring that our courts continue to serve as pillars of fairness and equity in our society. As this year's submissions draw to a close, I echo the sentiment expressed at every year's closing remarks by quoting Robert Frost. "The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep." This encapsulates the journey that lies ahead, a journey demanding continued dedication and perseverance towards our shared goals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senior Magistrate. Now, on the program, there's a plan that has each speaker speaking for 5 minutes. And so we're hopeful that the speakers will be able to adhere to that time limit. Now, I know the first official and speaker that we're calling on is the Honorable Attorney General. But I can recall that former Attorney General, Dame Lewis Brown Evans, she remarked that she could never, ever address anybody in 5 minutes. I think she was just warming up. I think that's the same with other lawyers. I'm not going to name quite a few out there, Ms. Pearman or Mr. Pettingill, and Mr. Frumkin. But for now, I will call upon the Honorable Attorney General. Welcome.
Thank you, my Lord Chief Justice. Honorable Justices, Judges of the Supreme Court, Senior Magistrate, Magistrates, President of the Bar Association, His Excellency, the Governor, Leader of the Government, my boss. I think I can take the challenge because the Senior Magistrate has laid out I think a number of the points that I would have addressed. And I would take on the point that we have a way to go. So in the sentiment of Mr. Frost. But certainly it's an honor to stand before you today at the ceremonial opening of the 2025 legal year. This occasion reaffirms the enduring principles upon which Bermuda's justice system is built: independence, fairness, and the rule of law. At the outset, I extend the government's deep appreciation to the judiciary and the legal professionals in this room and outside who dedicate themselves to upholding justice. As Attorney General and Minister of Justice, I'm mindful of the constitutional separation between the executive and the judiciary. So my role today is not to speak to the judiciary, but rather to stand with you in recognition of our shared commitment to the effective administration of justice in Bermuda. A well-functioning judiciary is not just a cornerstone of democracy, it safeguards our freedoms and guards public trust. As we enter this new legal year, I am encouraged by the progress we are making to ensure that Bermuda's justice system continues to meet the needs of our community. But there is a lot more to do. The Senior Magistrate has talked about the Domestic Violence Court Program, which I am very excited and I am an avid champion. So my assurance today is that this dedicated initiative will have the support of the government to help to ensure swift victim protection while holding perpetrators accountable through the structured interventions that the Senior Magistrate mentioned. I know that the judiciary has long understood the complexity of domestic violence cases, and that I say again, we are committed as a government to ensuring that the courts have the necessary framework, and my learned friend said the magic word, resources, and the training to address these matters with urgency and the sensitivity that they demand. Another crucial development that certainly our chambers have been championing is the long overdue modernization of the jury system here. We all recognize the importance of jury service in upholding the right to a fair trial, but we also know that jury duty must be fair and sustainable for those called to serve. With planned reforms, the Chief Justice has been very instrumental in providing his insight into those, to expand the jury pool, to adjust selection processes, and to improve juror compensation. We are taking important steps to ensure the system remains robust and equitable. Equally significant is the critical work that must continue on child protection reform. I know that many of you in this room, whether from the bench, the bar, or other areas of the legal profession, have witnessed firsthand the profound impact of child abuse cases. Our justice system must protect vulnerable children better, ensuring that no gaps remain in our ability to prosecute offenders and provide necessary support to victims. We have work to do. Beyond these initiatives, I remain inspired by the judiciary's effort to enhance access to justice. The senior magistrate has talked about the mental health court program and the drug treatment courts. My permanent secretary and I were honored to participate in the Thanksgiving ceremony and to see lives turn around and to hear their testimonies was more than heartwarming. That is the substance of the work that we're here to do. So I commend you, and you as well, the Justice Board, because it was your initiative that began that. This approach, of course, balances accountability with rehabilitation, and it's a testament to the evolving role our courts have in addressing systemic challenges. Further, and I believe the senior magistrate proposed a novel solution, not so novel, we've been talking about it for a while though, in aiding access to justice in the way that those who are not able can have good representation in a pro bono initiative. So certainly, our legal aid system must be restructured, modernized, and made transparent. We have work to do. Similarly, the necessary use of technology in our courts presents opportunities for efficiency and accessibility. I look forward to continued discussions, I have been having them with the Chief Justice, on how we can harness digital advancements to improve case management and ensure that justice is timely and accessible. We have work to do. As we embark on this new legal year, I reaffirm the government's firm support for an independent and well-resourced judiciary. While our constitutional rules may differ, our purpose is certainly aligned to uphold justice, fairness, and the rule of law for all.
Madam Attorney General, that included remuneration as well, then? You're a bit vague on that point.
Yes, we are not making promises in this way. I extend my best wishes to all members of the legal profession for a successful and productive year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Attorney General. I now call upon the Shadow Attorney General to address the gathering.
May I formally thank my Lord the Chief Justice, your Lordships, your Ladyships, and your Worships for including me as the Speaker of this special sitting of the Supreme Court. It is an honor and privilege to be permitted to briefly, I say briefly, address the bench, my colleagues at the Bermuda Bar, and esteemed company. In prior years, there has been a noticeable increase in this opening session, serving as a platform for speeches of a more political bent. I assure you that although I may stand here in my capacity as the Shadow Attorney General, I shall not be political. Perhaps surprisingly, I shall not even speak today about our legal system. Yet I do wish to take this brief opportunity to share two important observations about our legal profession. My Lord, you may time me if you wish. First, although we are a small island, our legal profession has grown substantially through the years. The notion of the bar has changed dramatically. We have today heard that we have over 600 lawyers scattered across numerous areas of Bermuda business and our community at large, some practicing, some not. When I was called to the bar back in 1999, it was less than 300. And not merely lawyers in law firms, of which there seem to be far too many these days, and certainly far more than there were before. But we've also seen considerable growth in the field of in-house counsel, both in local businesses and international business sector. This growth can, of course, be seen to be positive. It is a testament to the unfulfilled potential of Bermuda. Yet this growth can also detract from the camaraderie of our profession, detract from the prospect of a close-knit community of attorneys serving not only as colleagues, but as friends. Dare I say it, the growth in our profession has caused the fellowship of the bar to be impacted, and I use the term fellowship in a completely gender-neutral way. But what cannot be doubted is that the bar is no longer the small community it once was. I venture to suggest that there may be some lawyers in this room who have not met other lawyers in this room, and this room is but a small slice of our legal community at large. So as a profession, with this growth, we have both gained, but we've also lost. And my question today is whether that fragmentation of our legal profession might be countered. I hope it could be. Perhaps there might be more opportunities for the bar to come together more frequently, and also for us to come together in ways that could be of benefit to our island community, in addition to the provision of legal services. Lawyers give a great deal to our community, but I ask, can we do more, and can we do more differently? My second observation about the legal profession is that it is regrettable, it's a regrettable fact, that in the past few years have not exhibited the best conduct from some quarters of our profession. I have lost track of the number of complaints against attorneys. As we are all too aware, we've had several high-profile cases where the lawyer was in the dock. I believe this has brought a stain on the Bermuda bar. It may be that this is a necessary consequence of the growth of our profession, but I certainly hope that is not the case. And so I therefore take advantage of this brief opportunity to call upon all my legal colleagues to always hold true that our profession has a collective responsibility to each other. We must be careful not to be so caught up in our own work silo, demanding though our practices are and may well be, that we forget the community that the bar could and should become. A community that is respected by the public for the work we do, where being a lawyer is a kite mark of integrity and dedication, a community where all of us ensure that each of us upholds the highest professional standards. Thank you for affording me these few reports.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Shadow Attorney General. I now call upon the Solicitor General.
Thank you. Protocol has been established. My Lord, on this special sitting commemorating the start of the 2025 legal year, I rise for the first time in my position as Solicitor General, as I'm usually at this occasion speaking on behalf of the Attorney General. But as the Attorney General has chosen to speak with her own voice, today I am grateful to your Lordship for allowing me to speak with mine. Last year I reminded this honorable court that it was the year of the dragon in the Chinese zodiac. The dragon symbolizing power, change, fortune, and prosperity. Well, at least for me, the dragon came through on its promises, because during that time I became the first female Solicitor General of Bermuda, and I thank this honorable court for its well wishes. A portion of the Attorney General's Chamber's mission statement is to uphold the traditions of equity, fairness, and justice inherent in the legal profession, while simultaneously remaining on the cutting edge of legal trends and technologies to ensure that we are abreast of and in accord with global trends. The Digital Age Conference held in July of last year with the Master of the Rules showed that the digital era is here to stay. Technologies outlined in our mission statement is much more than control or delete. At the conference, the Judicial mentioned some of its technology initiatives, and it is our expectation that the Attorney General's chambers will also continue to move in that direction.
But remember, Master of the Rules did say that when we were talking about electronic case management system, he said that's old news.
Yes.
And that's what we were planning on getting in the next year. He said you've got to get with it,
Yes,
and get with the AI. Yes.
So to that end, the move towards AI would definitely assist with some of the tasks that we, along with other public sector departments, have to undertake, such as providing statistics and completing assessment documents. Now, I trust that you would not mind me telling this story, but I can recall on one occasion when I was seeking to arrange a meeting with the former, now Honorable, Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions to complete a very long and tedious gap analysis. The then deputy advised that he could not possibly make the meeting as his pet goldfish had a medical appointment. and managed to convince him that the meeting was necessary and his pet billfish lived to see another day. As we look ahead, it is clear that the legal landscape will continue to evolve, and the gap analysis would one day take minutes to produce. Many do not know the everyday responsibilities that we face in the public sector, but I'm proud to work alongside a team of talented individuals in the Attorney General's chambers, as well as with many colleagues in government and at the bar. It is through these partnerships that we can assist in building a legal system that continues to grow and stay abreast of legal trends. I also wish to congratulate the judiciary for hosting the Caribbean Association of Judicial Officers, CAJU, conference. Some of the attorneys here were permitted to see the beautiful ceremony at the beginning of the conference and the lovely dinner at the end, but the middle, as it should, remains a mystery. But it's likely that this conference also discussed legal trends.
Mr. Keynes? Can you stand up, please? The next time it goes on, I suggest we have Mr. Keynes sit in the dark. Yes.
So in closing, I anticipate that we will face increasing complexities in areas such as cybersecurity and data privacy this year. But I suspect that we will all be ready for the job. My Lord, I once again thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to this legal year.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Solicitor General. Madam Director of Public Prosecutions.
My Lord Chief Justice and my lords and ladies of the court, I did have a whole different speech prepared for this afternoon, listing statistics and achievements of my department and my council, and future forward comments and all sorts of positive things, but today was a very busy criminal court day. And three things stood out to me in particular. And even though no one in this room who's ever heard me speak could refer to me as frou-frou, I did feel like the universe was pushing me to say certain things before this honorable court and these honorable guests in our gallery. And I think it's because the court as currently constituted, save for Justice Martin, because I didn't have enough time to check, are former members of the criminal bar, including Acting Justice Wheatley, and except for her, the other four would be role prosecutors. So I think if there was ever going to be a time that the criminal bar got the attention it deserved, it has to be now. So bear with me. Three things I'd like to raise. I was very happy to hear the senior magistrate talk about courtroom space and courtroom facilities. 2 years ago, I addressed the former Chief Justice about Sessions House, and it was falling apart. And I'm grateful that we moved to somewhere where I didn't have to worry about the ceiling or picking up TVs. But the bathrooms in this building still don't work. Specifically, I was grateful to hear about technology and all the reforms. This courtroom has become a Supreme Court for criminal cases, and whilst Court 4 is properly equipped, Court 1 has yet to catch up. That isn't what I'm actually going to gripe about. Because Court 1 is now reserved for Supreme Court trials, the Magistrates Court has been displaced. And effectively, that means that we are out of the frying pan and into the fire, because all we have done is move the backlog to this court. I don't know if my Lord Chief is aware, but the situation has put us in a spot where the Magistrates Court can only hear full criminal trials on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. On the other days, the courts are combined. Criminal trials can potentially be heard in family court, but that's far from ideal with defendants moving through where we should be having children kept safe. I anticipate, having heard what I've heard this afternoon, that we're going to be in this situation for the remainder of this year at least. We make do is what we all do. The criminal bar has always been asked to make do the less. But, my Lord, when we have silk who is called to our bar, although they practice part-time in our jurisdiction, and we have people who aren't even counsel who purport to be speaking on behalf of equal justice, complaining about delays in trials, and appealing on the grounds of delay and being successful. The obvious solution to this court in certain types of cases, and particularly in cases where there are children victims, is to be able to allow a trial to start and sit on successive days until it finishes. That seems the most obvious solution to all of us who have practiced. But the magistrate's court can't sit on successive days. So we need more space. That is it, full stop. I don't know if those who have ears who can make those decisions are present, but we need more space. We need more space to do the people's work. So it's lovely to hear that there's work to be done, but realistically, we need at least 2 more courtrooms. That's 1. I'm going to make my 5 minutes. 2 is security. 2024 saw brawls immediately outside the precincts of the court, where counsel were injured and denigrated and insulted by people in attendance. 2024 saw a knife being found in a dock, and we found out the cameras weren't working. Counsel's safety was threatened in 2024 in their homes. We enter these courts through the same doors as the people we are prosecuting, and those same people will be upset with the defense counsel when the judgment or the verdict doesn't go their way. And that's what we do. We all sign up for that. And all of us, I don't think my friends for the defense will mind me saying, have very thick skin. But if I can paraphrase Shakespeare and the Shylock speech, if you cut us, we will bleed. And I'm asking this court, and those who have ears, to not wait for bloodshed before they sort out our security. It is time to have a serious look at security. And finally, and I'm grateful to hear about judicial reforms. I think I even spoke to you, Chief, after the throne speech. But social media is crippling the criminal justice system. We had problems in 2024 with this, and trials being derailed because of social media posts. And we face similar problems just this morning and this year. These posts and the people who post them are effectively attempting to pervert the course of justice. It doesn't help a defendant. It doesn't help a victim. All it does is make sure that it's difficult to find an impartial jury, whether we extend it to older people, whether we extend it to people who are guest workers. We're not going to be able to prevent social media affecting these people. It erodes the bedrock of the criminal justice system. And there may come a time that we need to have a serious conversation, jury reforms notwithstanding, about moving to judge-alone trials. None of us, I think, have thought about that, but that is a reality in 2025. So, my Lord, in closing, we, the criminal bar, are asking for much needed attention. I remind this court, when little kids say they want to grow up to be lawyers, it's us they're thinking about. So, I do wish that going forward for 2025, we have a prosperous, productive, and effective new year. Unless I can turn to trouble.
Yeah. So, Madam Director, I take on board the points that you have raised, and you can be assured that the various officials in the room that do have something to do about it are committed to doing something about it. We've had discussions with the Bermuda Police Service, with the Commissioner about security. We've had discussions with the Attorney General about premises. And the Premier and Minister of Finance is here to hear about Sessions, Sessions House. And so everyone that needs to hear your points that you raised are here. And I'm confident that they will walk away from this special sitting today bearing those things in the forefront of their mind with a commitment to do something about it. Great. Yes. So thank you. I was calling upon the representative of the President of the Bar Council, Ms. George.
Thank you, Mama. Obviously, you all have noticed that I'm not Jerome Wilson. Thank you, Solicitor General, who's unable to attend today. For everyone who doesn't know, I'm Kind George, the Vice President of the Bermuda Bar Council. And I'm very pleased to appear before you in case ensuring strength and commitment to our legal community with justice, fairness, and the rule of law. It's an occasion for us to look forward and to look back on what has happened since the last special sitting. So since last year, we have commenced our review of the Bermuda Bar Act of 1974, which turned 50 last year, and its related laws. We need to identify areas that are in need of amendment and updating, and to ensure that our framework remains robust and relevant to meet the current demands and challenges of the legal profession. In terms of our numbers, a few numbers have been bandied about as to the actual numbers of lawyers we have here. We do have some 600 plus members of the Bar Association. Of those, around 500 are practicing lawyers who are called to the bar. Others are registered associates. We had 31 new additions last year, a mix of Bermudian pupils who finally qualified, and then other foreign lawyers who pulled after several years on year. So there are around 500 practicing attorneys. I'm very happy to report that the Bar Association membership responded to our President's call last year for more to join the ranks of the Bar Council. So we now have a full complement of members after being short for a few years. The Bar Council has been working to establish good avenues of communication between the litigation bar and the courts, in particular through the Probate Practitioners Working Group, the Commercial Court Users Committee, and the Supreme Court Rule Standing Committee. We look forward to continuing this cooperation to good effect in 2025. The Bar Council has been very concerned over the last year or so regarding the number of non-lawyers who have been appearing in our courts purporting to represent litigants. And accordingly, we have been working on the 20-frame guidelines, which we hope to have finalised and issued soon, which will set out a proper framework for how that process can actually work. We acknowledge the continued importance of addressing conduct matters with bar disciplinary tribunals. Obviously, the criminal courts deal with those most egregious members of our profession. We extend our gratitude to the Supreme Court justices, in particular Your Lordship and Mr. Justice, and the members of the bar who have generously dedicated their time to chairing and sitting on disciplinary tribunals. Last year, we appointed our senior member of the bar, Saul Fromkin, to serve in the capacity of prosecutor on behalf of the Bermuda Bar Association, and he has been very effective in reducing the backlog of outstanding tribunal matters. He will continue in that capacity for another year to help us keep on top of the processing of complaints, which unfortunately continue to be extremely. I was glad to hear about the proposed electronic file management system still being on the cards. We are looking forward to its introduction. Whilst the cutting-edge AI system may not be on the cards, we do hope that whatever system is introduced will make the work of the courts and the litigation bar much easier and improve efficiency. Then turning to our attention to events of the year and those planned for the events of last year and those planned for this year, I'm pleased to announce that the Bar Association will, as usual, be hosting several events that will strengthen the bonds within the bar and our bonds with the judiciary. A few of those are, in May last year, former President of the Bar, Richard Horseman, and his team of Wakefield Twin revived the legal fraternity charity board, which has not been held since the pandemic. It was a great success and raised $15,000 for local charities. We will be holding the walk again this year. As mentioned by the Solicitor General, in July, the Bar Association hosted a successful day-long conference entitled Bench, Bar and Business in the Digital Age, featuring guest speaker Sir Jeffrey Ross, the Master of the Roles, in which we all contemplated how AI and other digital innovations are going to impact our practices. I'm hoping I'll be retired for that. annual accountants versus lawyers football match, which unfortunately the lawyers lost last year after a long winning streak. We're hoping we'll return to victory this year.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the Chief Justice no longer plays, and so we're at the loss there.
We probably need more West Ham or Arsenal lawyers on the team, right?
The Association will be holding an appreciation dinner for our judges and magistrates again this year. We're making this an annual occasion to express our gratitude for the judiciary's unwavering commitment to justice in our community. Last year we celebrated our two most senior members of the bar, Shirley Simmons and David Cooper, with respectively 57 and 50 years of service in the legal profession. But sadly, we also mourn the loss of two of our respected members, Marco Montesolo and Stephen Cook, both gone too soon. I would like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to all in the membership who have contributed to the running of the Bermuda Bar Association over the past year, and also to our excellent Executive Secretary, Anne Sterling, without whom we couldn't operate.
Indeed.
And finally, I extend appreciation to the members of the Bermuda Bar Council for their continuous commitment to enhance the standards within our profession. We all have different ambitions. Find the time to do the Bar Council's work on a daily basis, as well as at our monthly meetings, is a testament to our shared dedication to progress and excellence within our profession. As we embark on this new legal year, we reaffirm our dedication to the principles that define us as legal professionals: integrity, justice, and service to our community. Together, we shall navigate the complexities of the law and uphold the ideals that make our legal system a pillar of strength in Bermuda. We hope that this year will be another one of growth, camaraderie, and success for the Bermuda Bar Association and the courts, and all of us in the wider legal community. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. George. Mr. Christopher, I did welcome. I did have an idea of where we could offer you a seat. Or perhaps the other side of the room. And at this opportunity, I'd like to call on Justice Wolf to address the gathering.
Thank you, Chief. Madam Director, you asked for us to be given more attention to the criminal bar. Wish granted. The great civil rights leader, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., said that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Everyone's definition of justice includes the requirement that those who come before the courts are treated fairly and that their legal and constitutional rights will be zealously protected. Those who are compelled to navigate through the criminal courts can be rest assured that those of us in the criminal justice system will continue to exert every effort to ensure that the rule of law is sacrosanct and that justice is not only done, but that it is seen to be done. Together, we have worked assiduously to ensure that the proper administrative justice is upheld. In doing so, we have made certain that accused persons are tried within a reasonable period of time and that those who are remanded are not remanded for inordinate periods, and that the victims of crime will receive a semblance of closure for what may have been a traumatic experience for them. We deal with the most complex, delicate, and emotionally draining matters in all of the courts. And yet, we are still treated as the stepchildren of the entire legal system. Prosecutors and defense counsel are the most compassionate and brilliant amongst us. Let's be clear. They can be as effective in the boardroom as they are in the courtroom, but they have consciously chosen to selflessly assist those who may not be able to help themselves. They have made it their career ambition to fervently advocate for those who cannot speak for themselves. For this, they are paid a small fraction of what they could earn in other legal fields. And yet, prosecutors and defense counsel are often seen as less than their lawyers in other sectors. Copious amount of attention is given to the successes of the commercial and business world, but nary a word is written or spoken about the meaningful and consequential work of those in the criminal justice system. Those who look out for the legal, psychological, and emotional interests of our most precious resource, our people. The irony is that the media and perhaps the public will give credence to the so-called justice advocacy groups without first seeking the views of those who actually are in the trenches fighting for justice. You will not see the profiles of justice stalwarts like Elizabeth Christopher, DPP Cindy Clark, Charles Richardson, Mark Daniels, Susan Mulligan, Mark Pettingill, Victoria Pearman, Carrington Mahoney, and many others. You will not see their profiles in any newspapers. But periodically, you will often see the photographs of mouthpieces who opine on justice-related matters simply to get their followers to hit the like button. It's not lost on me that of the 600 members of the Bermuda Bar, that 20 of members of the criminal bar are here. They are represented here today, and the other 580 are not. So, today, and I make no apology, I will take the time to exalt the true guardians of justice, and it would be apropos for me to give them their flowers now. I'm going to take a few more minutes. I do apologize, Chief. The Department of Public Prosecutions, led by the Director of Public Prosecutions, Ms. Cindy Clark, Crown Counsel at all levels have exhibited an unwavering commitment to ensuring that defendants are treated fairly and that victims of crime can finally have their say. It is a malicious untruth for anyone to even suggest that the DPP's office is wrongly or unfairly prosecuting anyone. I can tell you without fear of contradiction that every Crown Counsel does their level best to carry out their prosecutorial duties with the utmost professionalism, and they are consummate officers of the court, and for that, I am grateful. The Criminal Defense Bar. It is their duty to assist persons who have been accused of the most heinous crimes. The burden which comes with that is immense beyond description. They are the conduit through which their clients' hopes of justice are communicated, and they are the reservoir of their clients' emotions and angst. When most of us are warm and cozy in our beds, they are awakened in the middle of the night to attend the Hamlet Police Station to make sure that their clients know their rights. When most of us have the support of a team to help us make decisions, the fate of their clients is solely in their hands, and for that, I am grateful. The Bermuda Police Service. It is unfair that the police receive the level of criticism that they do. The overwhelming majority of the police who investigate crimes do so without any oblique motive to persecute anyone. When mistakes are made by the police, they will be corrected by the courts, but such mistakes should not in any way whatsoever give the automatic impression that the police are out to get anyone. I thank them for their service. The Department of Corrections. Contrary to what uninformed persons may think, the Westgate Correctional Facility treats those in their charge with care and respect. The story that is not told is the countless times that a prison officer has gone out of their way to steer inmates away from a life of crime once they leave prison. The story that is not told are the conversations which prison officers have with inmates through their bar door, which lifts their spirits and self-esteem. In many instances, prison officers are the surrogate fathers and mothers of many inmates. I would be remiss if I did not express specific appreciation for the work of Division Officer Ingram and his subordinates. On a daily basis, On a daily basis, they ensure that inmates appear in court in an organized and respectful fashion, and it's largely because of their work that court hearings are always orderly and efficient. And for that, I am grateful. The Department of Court Services, specifically probation officers, I cannot stress enough the incredible work that probation officers do. They are given the seemingly impossible task of solving many of our deep-seated social ills. It is because of their work that those who have fallen along the wayside can finally feel a sense of hope, redemption, and pride. And for that, I am grateful. The Worshipful Senior Magistrate Maxine Anderson, over the past year, she has given up one of her magistrate's courts that the Supreme Court may conduct jury trials and other non-trial matters. It is not lost on me that in doing so, she has sacrificed the efficient and effective running of the magistrate's court. Words cannot adequately convey my gratitude for being the valuable team player that she has been, and which I'm sure she will continue to be. The Honorable Chief Justice, he gets it. He does not treat us like stepchildren, and I know that he has the criminal justice system at the forefront of his mind and his heart. He has afforded me the latitude and given us the undying support in our efforts to take the criminal justice system from strength to strength. He has been a visionary in respect of what we can strive to do in the near future, and for that, Chief, I am eternally grateful.
But I missed my time down there as a defense counsel, as a prosecutor.
Well, good. Last but certainly not least, the staff of the Criminal Division. It is with pleasure to highlight that the monumental work of the court associates of the Criminal Division. They are truly the heart and soul of the Supreme Court, and yet they are the most underpaid and under-resourced persons in the justice system. It is they who on a day-to-day basis deal with oftentimes cantankerous, confused, and upset members of the public. It is they who often calm the nerves of those facing court proceedings by explaining to them how the court works. It is they who deal with some lawyers who sometimes can be overly demanding. It is they who keep the judge's docket and diary organized. It is they who keep the judges in check. Trust me, they do. And we will not be able to do what they do without them. And I cannot thank them enough. So much so, and they're going to hate this, I'm going to mention their names, and they're going to stand up. Ms. Tiffany Smith, Ms. Taisha Oswald, Ms. O'Mara, and Ms. Seymour. Thank you. If I have forgotten anyone, please charge it to the head and not to the heart. I will conclude by saying that the fundamentals of the criminal justice system are sound, and our foundation of justice is strong. We will do all that we can and all that is necessary to ensure that that continues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Justice Wolf. I should have explained at the beginning that Mr. Justice Wolf is the supervising judge of the Criminal Division, and so he's speaking on behalf of and advocating for the Criminal Division. So I now turn to Justice Sophia Williams and invite Justice Sophia Williams to address the gathering.
Thank you, Chief Justice. If it pleases you, as chairperson of the Judicial Training Institute, I'm called on to present from this passing year's report on our primary initiative, which was the 8th Biennial Conference of the Caribbean Association of Judicial Officers, which was held here in Bermuda over a 3-day conference in November 2024. Before I come to that, I thought it would be appropriate to share a short narrative on the formation and history of what we call the JTI, that's the Judicial Training Institute, for members of the bar who may not be so familiar with what it is that we do and where we have come from. In February 2004, the Honorable Mrs. Justice Norma Wade Miller, the first female Supreme Court judge of Bermuda, chaired the Justice System Review Committee, which made a number of recommendations, one of which was the establishment of a Justice System Training Institute. That institute was inaugurated on Friday, the 6th of June, 2008, and chaired by Justice Wade Miller. It was determined that the Judicial Training Institute Board would have no less than 3 members, but no more than 5 members in total. That has changed greatly, but I will come to that. The first sitting members of the board under her ladyship's chairmanship was the Honorable Mr. Justice Ian Kawley, who would become later the Honorable Chief Justice of Bermuda, and now an esteemed member of the Court of Appeal, Justice Kawley of the Court of Appeal. And then also the Worshipful Mr. Archibald Warner, former Senior Magistrate of Bermuda. In the words of Justice Wade Miller, stating the reason and the purpose for the JTI, she said, "The judiciary has the weighty responsibility of assessing evidence and passing judgments on human behavior, which have to stand scrutiny as being fair, scrupulous, and knowledgeable. In order to fulfill this responsibility, judges have to be aware and as aware as possible of the conditions in which we live, and in particular to understand the motivations and stresses which comprise the realities of contemporary life. A Judicial Training Institute is a vehicle for ensuring that all of us are prepared for that task." Present at the 2008 inaugural conference were over 100 members of the Bermuda's legal fraternity. The Honorable Sir Austin Ward gave the prayer, and opening remarks were made by the then Governor, His Excellency Sir Richard Gosney. Remarks were also made by the then President of the Court of Appeal, the Right Honorable Edward Zacher, and then newly appointed Justice of Appeal, the Right Honorable Robin Auld, the then Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Senator Kim Wilson, and the then Honorable Chief Justice, Mr. Richard Ground. Overseas participants included Her Honor Judge Isabel Plumstead, designated family judge at Cambridge and Peterborough County Court, and Her Honor Judge Patricia Dangor, the then circuit judge in England, who would later be appointed to the Court of Appeal of Bermuda. Invited by reason of my capacity as a then acting magistrate, I attended this prestigious event wholly unaware that I would years later be appointed to the Supreme Court as registrar in 2016 and a puisne judge in 2018, chairing what is continually termed as a Judicial Training Institute. Having been so selected as chair by the then Honorable Chief Justice, Mr. Ian Kawley, I was tasked to revive the JTI, which would become comatose during the transitional aftermath of an exodus period in which all long-serving members of the Supreme Court bench retired or would soon retire and be replaced by an entirely new bench, which is what you see now. In 2020, the JTI regained its momentum through virtual training sessions during the COVID-19 pandemic. This catered to all major areas of law and culminated in post-pandemic end-of-year conferences with full participation of the judiciary and the magistracy. Between 2022 and 2023, various training sessions were held in which overseas judges and lawyers appeared as keynote speakers and distinguished attendees. So in 2023, the Honorable President of the Caribbean Court of Justice, that's like the equivalent of the Privy Council to us in the Caribbean, in the Eastern Caribbean. That's Mr. Justice Adrian Saunders, also a member of Bermuda's Judicial Legal Services Commission, planted the seed that Bermuda, for the first time, would be eligible to host the esteemed international conference put on by the Caribbean Association of Judicial Officers, which we were previously referring to as CAJO, but I think the common pronunciation is CAJO. The president of CAJO, Mr. Justice Peter Jamadar, also sitting as a member of the CCJ, would prove to be the godfather of the conference planning. As an elected member of CAJO's executive committee, together with the senior magistrate, Ms. Maxine Anderson, the offer was graciously accepted. Thus, the mandate for judicial training in 2024 was entirely vested in Bermuda's hosting of this conference. The conference was held from the 21st to the 23rd of November 2024 last year in the Princess Ballroom at Hamilton Princess. The significance of this international event is evidenced by the presence of the various heads of judiciaries, including the President and Justices of the Caribbean Court of Justice. Approximately 100 judicial officers of all levels of court traveled to Bermuda, representing up to 23 membership countries. Local representation was marked by the presence of our country heads and dignitaries, namely the then acting governor, Mr. Tom Oppenheim, and the then acting Honorable Premier of Bermuda, Mr. Walter Rebane. And I do acknowledge the presence of our Honorable Premier. Thank you. In my role as a chairperson and member of CAJO's Executive Management Committee, I was required to commit to the supervision, management, and preparation of this large-scale judicial project. This proved particularly time-consuming in the final months preceding the conference. The conference was attended by the entire of the Bermuda judiciary, the magistracy, the members of the CCJ, the chancellors, chief justices, judges, masters, registrars, magistrates, tribunal members, and executive court administrators and other judicial staff from all over the Caribbean and beyond. Of note, CAJO's prestigious reputation has attracted conference participation and support from the International Union of Judicial Officers, whose membership includes representation from multiple countries, including Africa, America, Asia, and Europe. The conference preparation entailed in hosting an international conference is reminiscent of a building project. It required financing, the establishment of numerous teams targeting various aspects of the plan, design, management, contractual relationships, legal analysis of liability risk, and the unforeseen. This is no understatement of what was entailed in bringing this conference to fruition. I chaired the local management committee consisting of the senior magistrate and the acting registrar, Ms. Craytania Thompson, and now Crown Counsel, Mr. Audley Coelho. The local management committee regularly interfaced with the CAJO conference management team chaired by the CAJO president, Mr. Justice Jamadar. Local subcommittees were formed to ensure that the finance, immigration, and flight departure and arrival protocols, hotel accommodation for the conference and its participants, transportation, videography, and photography needs of the conference were being adequately prepared. At the opening of the conference, welcoming remarks were given by the Honorable Chief Justice, Mr. Larry Mussenden, and the Honorable Attorney General, Ms. Kim Wilkerson, and the conference was emceed by the Honorable Justice, Mr. Juan Wolf. You can imagine how lively that was. It was also opened with a carefully rehearsed production involving a musical procession of the membership country flags, performances by top vocal artists, and performances by the dancers of United Dance Production, the PHC Majorettes, and a combined troupe of the Bermuda Gumbays. The social calendar for the conference was a project unto itself. The Honorable Premier hosted the welcome reception at Camden House on the 21st of November. The Bermuda Bar Association hosted a fabulous buffet dinner and dance event at Cafe Lido, Elbow Beach, and I give courtesy and most grateful acknowledgement to the Director of Public Prosecutions, who personally took responsibility for the arrangements of that event. Thank you. On the final day of the conference attendees enjoyed a most glorious showcase of our cultural and scenic treasures during the course of a buffet lunch with dancing from the top floor of the Royal Commissioner's House. Performances from local artists and the Gumbays served as a closing piece to a lifelong memorable conference. However, the conference was not solely or even principally about entertaining judges. The conference program undoubtedly was a star feature of the event. The feature presentation of the conference was celebrating Caribbean jurisprudence, intersections between law, politics, and society. This was a speech which was delivered by President Saunders. Other conference topics included, but were not limited to, the judiciary's use of artificial intelligence, management of public and media relations, judicial integrity, managing judicial conflict, and the exploration of an adequate resourced court system. Further forum topics included the importance of judicial civility and ensuring access to justice and fair hearings for self-represented court users, and there was a registrars and court administrators forum on cost. So, in close with the report, with the report on the conference, is a formal letter to the Bermuda Judiciary from CAJO marking the success of the conference, and an extract of that letter provides: Dear Honorable Chief Justice, the Caribbean Association of Judicial Officers wishes to express our deepest gratitude for the excellent arrangements and support provided to us from the judiciary and government of Bermuda at our recently held 8th Biennial Conference. The conference was an overwhelming success, attracting 100 delegates, speakers, and exhibitors both regionally and internationally, and provided our Caribbean judicial officers with great intellectual stimulation and pleasurable social interaction. We appreciate the contribution you personally made in fostering goodwill and cooperation amongst fellow judicial officers of the region. Without your contribution and that of your local organizing committee, the conference would not have been the success it was. Special thanks to Justice Subir Williams, Justice Wolfe, Acting Justice Alexandra Wheatley, Senior Magistrate Maxine Anderson, Acting Registrar Ms. Craytanya Thompson, and Mr. Audley Coelho, as well as other members of staff who served as ushers in the Secretariat and as transport support. They all exemplified the highest qualities of professionalism, efficiency, and courtesy that could be desired. I add to that acknowledgement my personal gratitude. I can assure you that that was probably one of the most challenging tasks of my own judicial career. It was an enormous event. It required incredible preparation. And so I thank the management, the local management team, and I cannot impress upon them enough that we benefited tremendously from their voluntary efforts. And in this similar fashion as my brother, Mr. Justice Wolfe, I want to give special acknowledgments to the members of staff who also volunteered their time. They sometimes had to go to the airport late at night, wait for judicial officers to fly in. They volunteered their weekend time. They were made to wait for periods which it was not anticipated. And so I really want to close out by naming them, and you're going to get your squat exercise in, because some of you will have to stand again. I start with Ms. Tasnay Fubler, Ms. Gina Aswood, and please stand, don't be shy as I call your name, Ms. Christy Seymour, Ms. Kazia Battersby, Ms. Denisha Butterfield, Ms. Angelique Doling, Ms. Renique Furbett, Ms. Cindy Lowe, Donna Millington, Ms. Patrice Rawlings, and Ms. Angela Seaman, Ms. Sade Seymour, Ms. Sabria Seymour, Ms. Taylor Williams, and Ms. Seda Winggood. Thank you.
So, distinguished guests and counsel, it's a huge pleasure for me to extend a special welcome to His Excellency, the Governor, Mr. Andrew Myrick, who just last week was sworn in as the Governor of Bermuda. He is a barrister who has served in the Royal Navy, rising to the rank of Commander, and served as the head of operations for the Directorate of Naval Legal Services, later joining the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. We look forward to an excellent relationship with and the support of HE as we seek to develop the judiciary and the services that we provide. No doubt his own legal experience will be of some significant benefit to us. HE, on a lighter note, we will be pleased to entertain a motion for you to be admitted to the Bermuda Bar and appear as counsel, no doubt in matters brought against your office in judicial review proceedings. You might become barrister number 601. Mr. Premier, welcome to this special sitting. I think it's the first time that we've had a premier or we've had you as the premier to attend. This is a celebration. Even though you've heard it live and raw, it is a celebration of all the things that we do. And we know that in the House of Assembly, you sit all night and every Friday. But here, we pack it in a power hour, and we give you the best that we can. I'm also happy that we have here the Speaker of the House as well as the President of the Senate. Now, I'd like to start by acknowledging that the day-to-day administration of justice depends upon the collaboration and assistance of a number of agencies, as has been set out by speakers that have already spoken. But I also want to acknowledge with thanks the pivotal oversight role performed by the former governor, Her Excellency Ms. Rina Lauje, and the members of the Judicial and Legal Services Committee in dealing with judicial appointments and judicial complaints. Now, at this special sitting in the Dame Lewis Brown Evans building, I am pleased to present the Judiciary's annual report for 2024. And this is the report here. There are some hard copies that have been presented to His Excellency as well as the Premier. But we also have a flyer that has been handed out to you, and it's now posted. And up here in this corner is a scan code by Tesnay Fabler here, standing there, my assistant, who worked on this. You know, the young people, they have these fancy way of doing things. And so, pardon me? QR code, yes. I said it was a scan code. In any event, you scan that code, and you'll get to the page that has the PDF of the report. And so I commend that report to you. Now, an appropriate starting point for the opening of this new legal year would be to recognize that the former governor concluded her appointment as governor just a few weeks ago. The judiciary was pleased to host a farewell dinner for her and her husband, Mr. Jacob Hawkins, in December, when we thanked her for her steadfast support for the judiciary and its development. She was keen to appoint new judges and magistrates, and she further supported an increase in the number of judges and justices of appeal. She also dedicated a considerable amount of time in supporting the amendment of the Judicial Complaints Protocol. And so we wish Mrs. Lauje and her family well in their return to London and her next appointment. Now, the Commonwealth Latimer House principles, in commenting about the three branches of government, said each Commonwealth country's parliaments, executives, and judiciaries are the guarantors in their respective spheres of the rule of law, the promotion and protection of fundamental human rights, and the entrenchment of good governance based on the highest standards of honesty, probity, and accountability. So thus, our annual report and this special sitting, where speakers are entitled to express their views in open public, as you've heard, is the starting point of accountability, especially needed in a small island home like Bermuda. The public have a right to know about our performance, our achievements, and successes, and where we have not performed well, our challenges, and where we are headed, and how we will seek to address matters in the short and the long term. In working towards our goals, the justice system relies on a number of parties to keep the wheels of justice moving. We all play a significant role. We all play significant roles, which I would section into internal and external parties. Internally, the system works due to the dedication and service of the judges, the acting justices, assistant justices, magistrates, acting magistrates, and special court panel members who hear and conduct cases and deliver a variety of outcomes on a daily basis. They are all owed a huge debt of gratitude. Alongside of, and most times in front of the judicial officers, are the registrar, the assistant registrars, and the administrative staff who provide endless service to the bench and to the external parties. I refer you to the acting registrar's report in the annual report, which speaks to the work of the registrars and staff. They are worth their weight in gold, and huge thanks are extended to them. Now, I turn to the various jurisdictions of the court, and you've heard some of the reports, and you can also read the report yourself. Just to make a few short remarks about the various divisions. I'm pleased that Justice Wolf has provided his report for the Criminal Division. I extend my thanks to him and Justice Richards and the staff of the Criminal Division for their work. In respect of the Civil and the Commercial Division, as you will realize, the international business sector in Bermuda is the driver of our economy. And whilst there are 600 lawyers in Bermuda, or 500 at the bar, and whilst there are a small number, perhaps at the criminal bar, the work that the commercial bar does is absolutely important to our reputation and also to that part of the economy, because those companies come to Bermuda and they do business in Bermuda, and they take into account our judiciary because they're confident that they can have their disputes heard in our courts and that they can have that done in a timely manner. Now, Justice Martin has joined Justice Sir Bill Williams and me on the civil commercial bench, and we are supported by several assistant justices in conducting civil and commercial matters. And I can see Assistant Justice Jeffrey Elkinson there, and there may be one or two others that have assisted in the commercial side. Justice Richards also conducted some matters in the civil arena, although his growing criminal caseload means that he would take on fewer civil cases. The court has continued to use a combination of in-person hearings and remote appearances to provide a seamless service in cases. This flexibility has provided a benefit to parties, as we can hear from parties or witnesses wherever they are in Bermuda or overseas. The Commercial Court Users Committee meets on a regular basis with us, the judiciary, as together we work towards practical solutions to support the civil and the commercial division. There's an area of concern that I have, and that is applications in respect of mortgage defaults. They continue where mortgagors have fallen into default and applications are made for possession, powers of sale, and money judgments. These actions have serious consequences for both lenders and homeowners. And I note that generally in such actions, significant time has passed between the breach and before legal proceedings are begun, and by that time, interest has accumulated into extraordinary amounts. It seems to me that earlier actions by the parties will have a benefit to all concerned. In respect of the Family and Matrimonial Division, I extend my thanks to Acting Justice Wheatley as we met with family practitioners with some very useful outcomes. I commend the Family and Matrimonial Report to you, highlighting that there is a need to amend the Matrimonial Causes Rules 2023 to make the process streamlined and efficient. In respect of the Probate Division, there are concerns there as well. The probate team has met with the Probate Practitioners Bar, and we explained the state of affairs of delay, with the result being that we have created a probate working group, that is with practitioners and the bench and the registry, to assist with establishing best practices. We have applied more resources to the division, which is being led by Ms. Tyasha Smith as Assistant Registrar, a consultant. Our thanks are extended to the entire probate division team. In respect of the Magistrates Court, I express my sincere thanks to all the sections of the Magistrates Court and to the senior magistrate who provided her report earlier. Part of the Magistrates Court is also the Coroner's Division, and I wish to thank the magistrates for their work as coroners conducting inquest. Part of that is supported by the Bermuda Police Service, and there's a coroner's officer, and that is, I want to call him Chief Inspector Lyndon Rayner from the Commissioner's Office. I don't think he's a Chief Inspector, but I think, as Ms. Pearman would know, we used to call Sergeant Rayner then, when he worked in police prosecutions, or court liaison officer, Rayner on sentencing and Rayner on procedure, because as a trained police officer, he knew a lot about the criminal procedure law in the magistrates court than the lawyers, and he's probably taught quite a few of us in the room about procedure in magistrates court. So thank you to the coroners and the coroner's officer. We have a small IT department in the judiciary, and so I extend my thanks to our information technology manager, Frank Vesquez, and his assistant, Brian Mallow, for their technology support. There is an IT report in the annual report, and we are all grateful to those two gentlemen for their work every day to provide the systems in the court and for administration. We also have a social committee. I extend my sincere thanks to the social committee, chaired by Magistrate Maria Sofianis, who has produced a report in the annual report. She and her team have done an excellent job of organizing social events for us, which has included bowling, boating, national holiday celebrations, and even a Halloween contest as we try to take care of our own mental well-being. And I was called upon to do some acting in the Halloween contest, and I think my team won. I'd like to refer to some of the calls last year. In 2024, there were 22 hearings, although there were more administrative calls to the bar when attorneys were called. They're mainly young Bermudians who have qualified to be admitted to practice. These wonderful occasions were attended by counsel, applicants, their families, and friends, as their individual journeys were chronicled and celebrated along with the thanks of the applicants, and in some cases, their tears of appreciation. The bench expresses its congratulations and best wishes to all new members of the bar. And as Ms. George said, we did honor 2 long-serving members of the bar. And so in December, we were all pleased to acknowledge the long service of Ms. Shirley Simmons, who was called to the bar some 57 years ago, and David Cooper, who was called 50 years ago. It was an honor to have them presented with plaques. I'm aware that there are other members who are reaching various milestones of call, and it will be an honor for all of us to mark such occasions. And there's also someone else who we should recognize, and I extend warm greetings to Mr. Sol Frumpkin, KC. Mr. Frumpkin, I understand that you will reach the lovely and magical age of 90 years old this year. Yes. We shall have a huge cake for you, and we will try to get 90 candles on it. In respect of courtroom facilities, I have my section here, but you've already heard it, and there's no need for me to really to repeat those things. But last year, I did speak of the collaboration between the courts and the Ministry of Public Works in respect of the design phase for the renovations to be completed in this building. And so there's a significant amount of money provided by the Minister of Finance and the government to renovate this building. I had hoped that the renovations were going to have started. I think I promised that last year. I was going to take a hammer upstairs earlier so I could say that we'd started. I still might do myself. But it hasn't progressed as we would, but we're still working on designs and finalizing the design part of it. But it is certainly my hope that the renovation work can start this year so that we can have some relief from the problems that you've heard about. Now, although we are planning renovations, the existing courts and the premises still need maintenance. We are extremely grateful to the Ministry of Public Works, in particular Sheridan Ming, Thomas Brown, and their team of carpenters, electricians, and other tradesmen who respond to our needs on a regular basis despite the demands on their resources. They are unsung heroes with a wide scope of expertise that make things work. And so, Mr. Brown, if you can stand so I could acknowledge you. And we're particularly pleased with Mr. Brown for his assistance in securing the bench seatings for the public areas of DLB. That's a first since this building has opened many years ago, and the benches are a warm reminder to us to provide proper service to our people. And so I think that was a really major milestone in being able to get benches. And so, Mr. Brown, thank you very much for all of your efforts. Ms. Wheatley is here having a little chuckle because she knows that I took that task up with some passion, and so she's happy that it's off of my list. In respect of the electronic case management system, the court has issued a request for proposals for the electronic case management system. The procurement process is underway as we speak, and the deadline for proposals to be submitted is 17th of February 2025, after which evaluation and selection will take place. And we intend for the system to be implemented with the best hopes and fingers crossed later this year. We have asked for some AI capabilities, as well as mobile apps, something like My Court, where you can download the app, and it should be able to allow people to keep track of their own cases, their dates, their financial obligations. And so we're thinking about it. Hopefully we can make it work. So we extend our thanks particularly to the Premier as Minister of Finance, who we met with and presented our case, and he got it right away. And Mr. Premier, if you can remember those meetings, we had a long presentation, and after about 5 minutes, he said, "I've got it, and that I will commit the money to you for doing that." And he did so, and he stuck to his word. So thank you very much for your commitment. And for the KJO conference, you've heard Justice Sabir with her report. It's also in the annual report. And so I take this opportunity to extend my sincere thanks to Justice Bill Williams for all of your work to make the conference a reality. Your commitment, your drive, and your enthusiasm, along with the team, made the conference a huge success. So thank you very much. If I can turn just briefly to the independence of the judiciary. Previous Chief Justices have spoken of the independence of the judiciary. Thus, we were thoroughly pleased that the throne speech spoke of support for constitutional amendments in various areas. We are keen for amendments affecting the judiciary to be made to Bermuda Constitution to the Bermuda Constitution within the foreseeable future. And I've had some discussions with the Attorney General as well as representatives of the Cabinet Office in respect of the process for constitutional discussions, hopefully later this year. Now, I stated before, and it's worth repeating here, that one interesting aspect of the independence of the judiciary is to review the remuneration packages of the judges, the registrars, and the magistrates. Currently, we all fall under the pay scale of the civil service, and any salary and benefits review is tied to the pay scale. I think that's negotiated by the BPSU with the government. So I turn to Mr. Grant, and I say, yes, it is. Yes. So we asked Mr. Grant to continue his negotiations so that the civil service itself can have a good package. But in any event, in another branch of the government, ministers and members come under the Ministers and Members of the Legislature's Salaries and Pensions Act of 1975. They have a review board which reviews their salaries every few years. They have a pension fund and other benefits. Thus, steps should be taken to ensure a similar approach for the bench, where a separate body should have the responsibility of setting judges, registrars, and magistrates' salaries, benefits, and pensions like in other jurisdictions. Now, I want to take this opportunity to thank those counsel who spoke today and extend my thanks to the members of your organizations, whether they be government departments or the private bar. You are the ones who have been retained to represent your clients, individuals, boards, or companies in pursuit of their cases. You are their voice, and in my view, there is no greater honor than to be a member of such a distinguished and esteemed profession. Members of the bench have enjoyed meeting with the working groups in the commercial, probate, family, and criminal divisions, as we have learned directly from you what your needs are. So we salute you for your service. Further, we encourage you to develop your careers so that you may one day be the head of your firm, be the Attorney General or the Solicitor General, President of the Bar, the Director of Public Prosecutions, a puisne judge, or the Chief Justice. And we offer you every encouragement. In closing, once again, I'll invite you to read the 2024 annual report, where you'll find the main highlights of the last year and short commentaries on various courts and their respective jurisdictions. It's an important document, as I said, from the point of judicial accountability. In respect of the report, once again, I'd like to extend my thanks to Ms. Tesnay Fubler, who has worked extremely hard on the report and also on this special sitting. So Tesnay, thank you very much. Tesnay has worked with me since October of last year. She's the captain and has been the captain of the Bermuda women's national team. She's also a coach of women's football. And in those leadership roles, she has very quickly taken on the responsibility, I think, of being my boss. And so I thank her for that and for keeping me on track. Now, finally, I would like to thank everyone who attended and invite counsel outside to the staircase by the elevators where the photographer is waiting for us to have some pictures. And then we have a reception on the concourse afterwards. So I now conclude this special sitting by formally declaring the 2025 legal year to be open. Thank you.